We just bought another Volvo. Another one. Is it possible to have too many Volvos? Hey guys, welcome to Shifting Lanes. I'm Chad. This is our brand new Volvo C30. Now, if you're new to the channel, first of all, thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see at the end of this video, consider hitting that subscribe button. We really appreciate all of you guys tuning in to watch our stuff. It really makes stuff like this possible. A brand new car. Well, brand new to us. So why another Volvo? Well, we have to step back a little bit. When Greg first pitched me the idea of taking a Volvo station wagon and turning it into an M3 killer, I thought he was out of his goddamn mind. I thought he was absolutely insane, that we may or may not have had to institute mandatory drug testing here at Shifting Lanes. It was that out there. However, over time, the Volvo kind of grew on me. I don't know how it happened. I was never a Volvo guy growing up or at any point until we started working on the VR. But it was just growing on me. The looks of it didn't look cool at first, but over time it started to look cooler and cooler, especially when we put those Avanti wheels on there.
As well as these really cool new wheels. All right, first things first, look at these really ridiculously cool wheels.
The engine, it's a 5-cylinder turbo. Put an exhaust on it and that thing sounds absolutely glorious. Over time, it grew on me so much, and your response to our Volvo videos has been so amazing that I had to get a Volvo of my very own. A 2008 Volvo C30. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the Shifting Lanes Civic Type R Slayer. So what exactly do we have here? Well, up front, we have a transversely mounted 2.5 liter turbocharged 5-cylinder engine. It makes 227 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque. And power goes through a 6-speed manual gearbox powering the front wheels. Okay, so front-wheel drive. I've been a rear-wheel drive guy for almost a decade now. Actually, a little more than a decade now. I'm going to miss the rear-wheel drive. However, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to take because of the potential of this thing. And where do I see the potential of this thing? Well, I'm going to take on the Civic Type R. Not an old one, not one that you have to import from Japan or go through crazy emission laws to make street legal here. I'm going after the brand new one. One of, if not the fastest front-wheel drive car to lap the Nürburgring. Yeah, I'm setting my sights high, but this thing has a ton of potential behind it. So it is at this point you might be asking yourself two questions. Number one, why a Volvo C30? Number two, why the Type R? To answer the first question, you have to go back almost 10, 12 years and picture a younger version of myself. Back then, I was driving a Ford Focus hatchback. I loved that little car. It was the first car I learned really how to work on, how to modify, how to do tasteful modifications the right way. And I'm not just talking throw some wheels, lower it, and intake and exhaust. That thing had a lot of work into it. And I was fiercely loyal to the Focus nameplate. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that it was my car. It was my baby. I blood, sweat, and tears into that thing, and I loved all things Focus. The other thing that was happening about that same time was I was pretty much embroiled in being a full-on Top Gear fanatic. I watched that show religiously. And it just so happened around that time, Clarkson came out with a review on a brand new Focus. That was the Ford Focus ST. He loved it. He loved the growl of the engine. He loved the way it handled. He loved how it was kind of a brute and all that fun stuff. I'm sitting here. I'm a Focus owner. Where can I get me some of that? Well, number one, I didn't really have the money for a new car at the time. And number two, and probably more importantly, actually definitely more importantly, they didn't make the Focus over here, or the Focus ST over here. And they had absolutely no plans of bringing that generation over to us. The hottest version of the Focus we got was the SVT. Now that was a cool, really good looking car, but it only had 170 horsepower. Over there it had 227 horsepower, a turbocharger, and a pretty awesome exhaust note. So they weren't really that comparable. So while that may have been a major league disappointment, you fast forward a few years, I got a brand new job, brand new promotion, and I actually had the financial wherewithal to get myself a brand new car. Well, not a used car, but you know what I mean. So once again, I kind of looked up. I was like, let me just double check. Let me see if Ford's planning on bringing this bad boy around. And the answer was still no. I could not get the Focus I wanted, which again sounds weird, but I could not get the Focus I wanted, and I was pretty bummed about it. I continued digging, I continued doing some research, and I found out that there was a car that shared the Focus platform, and we got here in the States. That was the Volvo C30. And these were pretty much brand new at the time. This was 2008, 2009. And unfortunately, a couple things. One, I couldn't really afford a brand new car, so that kind of ruled out the car I kind of had been looking for. I toyed around, see if I could take on a bigger loan, all that, but it really didn't make sense for me. Couple that with the fact that I got a screamer of a deal on what is still to this day my 2002 Lexus IS300. That was another car that weirdly had always stuck with me. That was another car that I wanted ever since I first saw it when I was back in high school. So 2009, got my Lexus. The Focus/C30 dream kind of died at that point. I kind of really didn't give those cars a second thought. Even when Ford announced the RS version and the RS 500 version of the European spec Focus hatchback. I thought it was cool. It's like, hey, the Focus is finally getting the badass name it deserves, but couldn't really realistically justify buying a brand new car. The second question, which was why a Type R and why take a Volvo, which is, let's be honest here, more than a full minute, not a second, a full minute slower around the Nürburgring than the Type R. So why take on a car that was so much faster, so much more technologically advanced than our little C30 here? That answer comes in actually a few parts. The first part of that is that I always prescribe to the methodology of set your goals high. Always strive to be better than you think you can get to, because it makes you work all that much harder. It makes you put more effort, more of yourself into a given project or school or work or any of that sort of stuff. Aim high, because if you constantly set yourself easily obtainable goals, you're really not bettering yourself as a person, as a mechanic, as a driver, all of that. So that's the first part. The second part of that is that this thing does have a lot of potential. Like I said, there was an RS version of the Focus that this shares a platform with. Well, with that comes a bigger turbocharger, better tuning, and everything like that. That makes this little car capable of making over 400 horsepower. Now, with some suspension upgrades, brake upgrades, that puts it about 100 horsepower more than the Type R. Obviously, horsepower isn't always the last word when it comes around road racing, autocross, all of that. I get that. But if you have a significant enough horsepower advantage, in addition to having really good brakes, in addition to, having a suspension that can handle all that power. Now, I'm pretty confident we can take on the Type R, and I'm going to try to do that for half the price. Can it be done? We shall see. But think about it for a second. Civic Type R is right around $36,000 to $41,000. If you can get a car that's about $16,000 all in with purchase price, mods, all that fun stuff, and 400 plus horsepower, and ridiculous handling, I don't know about you guys, but sign me up for some of that. I know what you're thinking. Even with the best suspension in the world, Chad, you're signing up for a world of torque steer. I get that, but that's the only way we're going to take on the Type R. So now we're going to take a look at the car. I should mention that I spent $5,200 on this car. I did, and I will freely admit, probably overspent by a few $100s. Reasons being is that I found a lot of cars in the $4,700 to $5,500 price range with right around 137,000 miles on it. The problem is the great majority of them were out of state, meaning I would have to either fly out and drive the car back like we've done with the M3 and the Aston Martin, or I'd have to have the car shipped. And when you factor in those expenses, it jacks the price of the car up. Fortunately for me, we had some buddies in the Volvo community, which is, I've only been a Volvo owner for a couple weeks now. I can tell you right off the bat that as far as automotive communities go, it is one of the friendliest, most helpful, nicest groups I've ever really been a part of, which is really refreshing, and it makes me even that much more excited to take this car on. Rick and his father, who we met again via some of our Volvo contacts in the community, actually drove this car out here for me, which was, Rick, if you're watching, thanks. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it so much. Thank your father for me. You guys really did me and Shifting Lanes as a whole a big, big solid. So now we're going to walk around the car, take a look at exactly what we got here, and you guys can let me know what you think down in the comments below. Another reason why I went all the way to Michigan to find a car was because of the color. Now, that I don't know the specific Volvo color on this. I'm sure you guys will let me know. But the single tone paint was a huge thing for me because these fenders here are plastic. You see that little gap just above the outer reaches of the fender. Actually, let's actually show that. And this piece here is plastic, same on the rear. Now, in a lot of the Volvos, that comes kind of in this weird two-tone. There's a coffee and cream kind of color scheme that they do, and even like some of the black on black, it's a different color black. It's just strange, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why they did that. Those are 18-inch wheels wrapped in, I think, Achilles tires, for the record. Never heard of them before, but they'll serve their purpose until the new wheels come in. There's our front end. This is actually a really, really good-looking car. I never used to think that, but now that I have one, it's really grown on me. You have some fogging on the headlights. I'm not sure if that's a lens or if I can buff that out. Please let me know, because I'd like to take care of that ASAP. I will be doing a full everything that's wrong with this car video coming up very soon. We'll walk you through. There's not much, but there are some things wrong with her. You know, used car, 10 years old. It's not going to be the shiniest of things. But man, I do really like the look of her. Interior-wise, we have a basic cloth interior. There's the correct number of pedals for any vehicle. Pretty much everything in the interior is okay. There are some little things here and there that I'll go over in greater detail. So we move around back. You have pretty much the main design feature of this car. That's that rear hatch. It's completely glass. Let's see if I can open it up. So as you can see, well, as you probably can't see, there we go. As you can see, there's no real trim around it. It's all glass, which when it's closed, really adds a design element to this car that makes it unique and really unlike anything else on the road, and adds to this being a really good looking car. You have dual exhaust because some designer somewhere thought that it didn't look good with a singular exhaust. It needed to stand out, so let's give it two, even though there's a single turbo, single dump pipe. Basically, it's one pipe all the way to the back when they add the complication of twin exhaust tips. Not necessarily my cup of tea. It does make the car look kind of cool, but it's not 100% functional. So I don't know. Please feel free to correct me on my wrongness there down in the comments. So there you have it, guys. The latest addition to the Shifting Lanes garage. We have our sights set really high on this one. I think we can get there. I hope you come along for the ride with us, because this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun, especially when she's all done, making all kinds of horsepower and torque steer. And I don't care. I cannot wait to get going on this car. This is going to be so much fun. So if you like shifting lanes, you like what we have planned for this Volvo, what we're doing with the B70R, what Hanson's doing with his autocross quest for nationals in the BRZ, and even the Aston Martin. If you like all that stuff, guys, and want to help us out, want to support us, you can do it in two ways. First one, just keep on watching. Hit that like button. Tell your friends. Share it. All that stuff helps us out immensely. If you want to rep the brand, get some swag, I'll put a link in the description below. Every dime we make from any apparel sale, we put right back into our builds. We got some sweet DadWagon stuff for your V70R fans out there. We got some great shifting lanes stuff. Definitely check it out. Buy yourself something. Helps us out a great deal. If you want to find us on social media, we're at Shifting Lanes. If, for whatever reason, you want to find me on social media, I'm at Kennedy83. Guys, it's been a blast. I cannot wait to get stuck in on this car. I hope you're as excited for this build as I am. I'll catch you next time.